we put in an interim secretary for the board to serve in Cameron's place. And so that's where we are on decision making. I noticed a question about funding came up at one point. We haven't received a request for funding. In the business plan for CPHE, they have talked about funding from the different institutions. That is something that would be discussed by the board for CPHE and have them decide whether or not they're going to request funds from us. But that's not something that we've taken up. And if it is taken up, it'll be something that'll be handled through our budget process like we do everything else at the university. So a little bit about the information that's been shared so far. So whenever the announcement was made in Florida, I know that the president's chief of staff met with the system chancellors. There was a letter that went out to the academic deans and the president's executive council. I know there have been briefings with our SAC-COC liaison on campus. The provost and chief of staff, the president's chief of staff and CPHE staff have met with Dr. Houghton and Dr. Hine. That was on July 9th. You had that meeting. There was a CPHE staff meeting with the provost, chief of staff, and chancellors and academic officers on August 12th to provide them an update. And then the standards came out on August 19th with a opportunity to submit comments by September 16th. I hope you've seen those. I hope you provide comments to whatever you think is relevant to you and what's important to you and provide that input. And then I think last week there was a meeting between CPHE staff and faculty senate leadership and AAUP leadership. So there have been a number of discussions. There are some work groups around CPHE, and there'll be some representatives from the university and participating in work groups. We received correspondence from the faculty senate chairs of the member institutions, providing access to information and reviewing standards, which we plan to do, and I think is ongoing now. And then as we continue on, my expectation is we'll continue to share information and get feedback. And of course, Dr. Hine, sitting as the faculty representative with the board, will continue to have access to all the information that the board members have. So that would be my intent going forward. I also want to note that the president and I had a great opportunity to meet with the new president of SAC-COC, Dr. Stephen Pruitt. It was a very nice conversation. He came along with his chief of staff, who is Sandra Jordan, our former chancellor at USC-Aiken. She now serves as chief of staff to the president of SAC-COC. And in that conversation, it was a very beneficial conversation to me to hear from him and what they're planning at SAC-COC. And I think what I took away from it is that with the discussions going on in Washington and some of the changes, and particularly the dialogue around around accreditation, SAC-COC is taking stock of where they are. He represented to us that it won't be business as usual for them. That, in fact, he said that term is not allowed to be used in the offices there. They'll be approaching things differently. He told us that they are looking to review their standards and see where they are. One of the things just to think about when you think about the standards is when you look at standards and substandards for the different accrediting bodies, they're kind of all over the place. They're all built off of the 10 in the Higher Education Act. But when you look at those at SAC-COC, there are 109 standards. You go to HLC, 21. CPHE's looking at 24 right now, and that could change obviously with feedback that they receive from different stakeholders. But they're looking at their standards. They also acknowledge that they've had a drift towards more community college and small privates and away from R1s and the larger, comprehensive publics. That was a concern that we expressed to him. That's one that we've shared before. And they're looking to re-engage with R1s in particular. And I think they're having a conference in October. We're told to look for some announcements from them later in September. Don't know what those will be, but I think it will be along the lines of significant changes. And I think, and they told us that they're going to look at the QEP requirement and what they're doing with that. So SAC-COC is looking at what they're doing and fulfilling their mission. And, I suspect we'll be hearing more from them based on what he represented to us in the next couple of months. Also, I want to encourage you. I understand there's an article coming out tomorrow from either the Chronicle, I think it's the Chronicle of Higher Education. They've got information coming out of North Carolina that they're sharing with everyone. It'll give you, I'm told, a lot of information about kind of the background and how we came to this point. And I think you'll see that at one point, North Carolina was looking to do their own accrediting body, just that one institution, as opposed to working with others. So they are, that article will be coming out. And then, from going forward, I think what you'll see is CPHE will be engaging with institutions. I encourage you to continue to reach out to your faculty representative and to the leadership here at the university to get information, but I think information will be forthcoming from them as well as they are building things out. So that's where we are with CPHE. I appreciate the fact that this is a new thing, and there are a lot of questions. I would be surprised if you didn't have questions, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to share just the information I have with you, so that whenever you're thinking about where we are and thinking about giving us input, you kind of know where it came from, and you're able to think about what the standards are and then where we're going. But again, I think the bottom line is it's very early in this process, and we're not at a point where we're ready to make a decision. One, I don't want to make a decision about anything until I actually see what we're getting into. And CPHE is not built out, but there will be other institutions who've already volunteered to go through dual accreditation with them for the practice that they have to do for a couple of years, both later this year and next year. We'll see how it goes and see how they do, and we'll evaluate at another time. But that's where we are with CPHE. Are there questions I can answer for anyone? Yes, I saw your hand first, so go ahead.
I was Savakoli College of Nursing. I was wondering, this body created is more politically motivated or impacting, independently for our, higher education and especially on university? Yeah.
And so, I know there's been political rhetoric around it, and some politicians have talked about it. When I look at this opportunity, I'm looking at, from my perspective, the board at some point will have the opportunity to speak as a body. I look at how it aligns with our mission. I view our mission as primarily educating young people and also developing knowledge through research. And what are the things that help enhance that? And having an accreditor that's more aligned with our institutions here in Columbia, the comprehensive institutions around the state, I think is a potential benefit to us. I would hope that there's nothing political related to CPHE as far as how they are handling their business. Well, I know the rhetoric. I told you there's rhetoric around it. What I'm saying for CPHE, I hope that when they conduct their business, that there's nothing political related to it. Because if there is, then that's a problem for higher education.
Yeah.
And because when we talk about our mission, we're talking about education and research. And so the other stuff is noise. And so when we're looking at this, we're looking at the standards, what's required, particularly for approval for Title IV funds. That's what we're talking about. Got to switch over to you. You okay if I go back and forth? I'm not sure who was first.
There.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Sure.
My name is Mindy Fensky, and I'm from the English department.
Mhm.
I have a money question.
Okay.
So the money question is that you indicated that Florida's Board of Governors dedicated $4 million. Is that correct?
Their legislature has
The legislature.
appropriated.
And the business document, as I read it, says it's $24 million total.
Yeah, so the
that
business
accurate?
plan indicates, I don't want to cut you off if you had something else.
Well, and then you indicated again earlier just now that we're not sure
Hmm.
if we're going to be asked to pony up 4 million. Where would it come from if we were asked?
Yeah, so the $4 million in Florida was appropriated by their state legislature. The Board of Governors has access to it to allocate it to CPHE. The business plan talks about that, as I mentioned earlier, $4 million from other institutions. We've not been asked for that. I would want to have a discussion about that, because while Florida has 1 million students in higher education institutions, we have a little over 100,000. And so I think there's some scale there to talk about. But the request has not come into us yet. I think it would come from the board of CPHE. And if it does, we'll evaluate it and then take it through our budget process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello. Hi. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah.
My name is Rob Kilgore. I'm an associate professor of English at the University of South Carolina, Beaufort.
Okay.
And I wanted to come today to have an opportunity to speak with you and to listen to what you had to say. I did my PhD here at USC Columbia.
Yeah.
I'm a proud graduate of USC Columbia and have been honored to work at USC Beaufort since 2007. When I first got there, people were very excited and very happy that USCB had achieved its goal of being a four-year institution and accredited by SACS. And, you know, like, you know, USC Aiken, USC Upstate. That accreditation for the comprehensive schools is incredibly important as a form of legitimacy for kind of the work that we do and the expertise that we have. We developed intense capacity to be able to manage that and to succeed at that and be reaffirmed again and again. My question is about, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If risk, because the tolerance for risk, especially at, I would say, comprehensive and regional institutions, the margins are thinner, right? We are a more thin staff, thin faculty. Everything matters, right? Every student that we can retain from first year to last. My question is about risk. What analysis of the risk you have done, especially about the comprehensive campuses like mine, the regional, the Palmetto College campuses, and I guess like as a part of this process, would you commit to come talk to faculty at the regional and the comprehensive campuses to get a sense of what accreditation by SACS really does mean to us?
Well, first off, USC Beaufort is one of our great institutions, very